Section 18 from West African Folk Tales. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Julian Jameson. Why the Moon and the Stars receive their light from the Sun. Once upon a time there was a great scarcity of food in the land. Father Anansi and his son, Kwekutsin, being very hungry, set out one morning to hunt in the forest. In a short time Kwekutsin was fortunate enough to kill a fine deer, which he carried to his father at their resting place. Anansi was very glad to see such a supply of food, and requested his son to remain there on guard, while he went for a large basket in which to carry it home. An hour or so passed without his return, and Kwekutsin became anxious. Fearing lest his father had lost his way, he called out loudly, "Father! Father!" to guide him to the spot. To his joy he heard a voice reply, "Yes, my son," and immediately he shouted again, thinking it was Anansi. Instead of the latter, however, a terrible dragon appeared. This monster breathed fire from his great nostrils, and was altogether a dreadful sight to behold. Kwekutsin was terrified at his approach, and speedily hid himself in a cave near by. The dragon arrived at the resting place, and was much annoyed to find only the deer's body. He vented his anger in blows upon the latter, and went away. Soon after, Father Anansi made his appearance. He was greatly interested in his son's tale, and wished to see the dragon for himself. He soon had his desire, for the monster, smelling human flesh, hastily returned to the spot and seized them both. They were carried off by him to his castle, where they found many other unfortunate creatures also awaiting their fate. All were left in charge of the dragon's servant, a fine white cock, which always crowed to summon his master if anything unusual happened in the latter's absence. The dragon then went off in search of more prey. Kwekutsin now summoned all his fellow prisoners together to arrange a way of escape. All feared to run away because of the wonderful powers of the monster. His eyesight was so keen that he could detect a fly moving miles away. Not only that, but he could move over the ground so swiftly that none could outdistance him. Kwekutsin, however, being exceedingly clever, soon thought of a plan. Knowing that the white cock would not crow as long as he has grains of rice to pick up, Kweku scattered on the ground the contents of 40 bags of grain which were stored in the great hall. While the cock was thus busily engaged, Kwekutsin ordered the spinners to spin fine hempen ropes to make a strong rope ladder. One end of this he intended to throw up to heaven, trusting that the gods would catch it and hold it fast, while he and his fellow prisoners mounted. While the ladder was being made, the men killed and ate all the cattle they needed, reserving all the bones for Kwekutsin at his express desire. When all was ready, the young man gathered the bones into a great sack. He also procured the dragon's fiddle, and placed it by his side. Everything was now ready. Kwekutsin threw one end of the ladder up to the sky. It was caught and held. The dragon's victims began to mount, one after the other, Kweku remaining at the bottom. By this time, however, the monster's powerful eyesight showed him that something unusual was happening at his abode. He hastened his return. On seeing his approach, Kwekutsin also mounted the ladder, with the bag of bones on his back and the fiddle under his arm. The dragon began to climb after him. Each time the monster came too near, the young man threw him a bone, with which, being very hungry, he was obliged to descend to the ground to eat. Kwekutsin repeated this performance till all the bones were gone, by which time the people were safely up in the heavens. Then he mounted himself, as rapidly as possible, stopping every now and then to play a tune on the wonderful fiddle. Each time he did this, the dragon had to return to earth to dance, as he could not resist the magic music. When Kweku was quite close to the top, the dragon had very nearly reached him again. The brave youth bent down and cut the ladder away below his own feet. The dragon was dashed to the ground, but Kweku was pulled up into safety by the gods. The latter were so pleased with his wisdom and bravery in giving freedom to his fellow men that they made him the sun, the source of all light and heat to the world. His father Anansi became the moon, and his friends the stars. Thereafter it was Kwekotsun's privilege to supply all these with light, each being dull and powerless without him. Section 18.